So this next exercise, we're going to do an effect that will create a particle simulation. It's going to look like a supernova that could be used at the opening of a science program or as a motion background. So to set things up, we're just going to click New Project, and then let's click File, Save As, and we're going to call this one Lesson 14 _ your name, and then particles, and put it in your Lesson 14 folder or wherever it is you're saving things. Alright, so we're not going to need any footage for this exercise. However, we do need to create the composition, so click New Composition. In the Composition Settings dialog box, do the following. We're going to type in the name Supernova, and the preset, we want it to be HDTV 1080 29.97. That's what mine is. If yours isn't, just find it. 1080 29.97. The duration, we want it to be 10 seconds. Oops, about to mess that up. And then click OK. And there it's been created. We're going to build the particle system from a solid layer. So we will create that next. Choose Layer, New, and then Solid. In the Solid Systems dialog box, we're going to type Particles in the name box. Click this button, Make Comp Size. That makes this layer the same size as the composition, and then click OK. With the Particle Systems layer selected in the timeline, choose Effect, Simulation. And you see there's a bunch of different simulations that we could create here, but we're going to select CC Particle Simulations 2. Go to 4 seconds in the timeline. Look at there. A large stream of yellow particles appears in our composition panel. We're now going to turn this stream of particles into a supernova by customizing the settings in the Effects Controls panel. Expand the Physics property group. So up here, click on Physics to expand that. The explosive animation setting works fine for this project, but instead of the particles falling down, we want them to flow out in all directions. So change the gravity value to 0. Hide the Physics property group. And expand the particle property group. Then choose Faded Sphere from the type, Faded Sphere. Now the particles look intergalactic. Don't stop there though. Change the depth size to 1.5. Increase the size variation to 100%. This allows the particles to change birth size randomly. Reduce the max opacity to 55%. This makes the particles semi-transparent. Click the birth color swatch, and we're going to make it this color. R is going to be 180, G 180, and B 180. Nope, wrong, don't click that. That's next. 255, 250. 255, 250. It gives it a yellow glow at birth. The death is going to be those numbers I started. 180, 180, 180. It gives it a light gray hue as they fade out. So to keep the particles from staying on screen too long, decrease the longevity value to 0.8 seconds. Right here, 0.8. The faded sphere particle type softens the look, but the particle shapes are still too sharply defined. You'll fix that by blurring the layer to blend the particles with one another. Hide the particle system 2 effects property. Choose effect, blur and sharpen, and then Gaussian blur. In the Gaussian blur area of the effects controls panel, increase the blurriness to 10. Then select this repeat edge pixels box to keep them from being cropped at the edge of the frame. We're now going to create a bright halo of light that will go behind the particles. Go to 7 seconds. Press Ctrl Y and that will create a new solid layer. In the name box, we're going to type sun. Click the Make Comp Size to make the layer the same size as the composition. Click the color swatch, and we're going to make the layer the same yellow as the birth color, so make the R 255, G is 200, B is 50, and then click OK to close the dialog box. And then click OK. Drag the sun layer below the particles layer. Select the ellipse tool, so it may be behind the solid rectangle, so select the ellipse tool. And then I'm going to hold down the shift key and drag. We want the radius to be approximately 100 pixels or a quarter of the width of the composition. So about that big. We've now created a mask. Use the selection tool to drag it to the center of the composition. Control Z. About right there. With the sun layer selected in the timeline panel, press the F key. That reveals its mask feather property. Increase the mask feather amount to 100 and 100. Press Alt and then the left bracket, and that sets the endpoint of the layer to the current time. Hide the properties for the sun layer. Good time to save. Let's click File and then Save.